The ear is the auditory organ of the body. The earlobe is a modification of the skin that is located below the ear opening. The color of the earlobe corresponds to the color of the eggs that will be laid. Our chicken would have had white eggs. Feathers are found in tracts on the skin. Feathers insulate the chicken from harsh temperatures and protect the skin from damage. Chickens often experience molting. This is the process of losing feathers. This process is typically done when egg production has ceased within the body. The brachial vein is a large vein located underneath the wing. This vein lies within the depression between the biceps brachialis and the triceps humerus muscles. The comb and wattle are decorative external organs located on the chicken's head. The comb is located on top of the head, and it differs based on species. Can you identify what kind of chickens ours is? You guessed it, it's a single. The wattle is located under the beak or the chin area. The uropygeal or preen gland is a bilobed sebaceous gland at the base of the tail on the dorsal aspect of the chicken. It secretes oils into the feathers to keep the integrity and form of the feathers.
Visible in the medial view of the left wing is the M. biceps brachii. This flexor of the wing runs ventral to the humerus. The two heads originate near the glenoid fossa, the shoulder joint, and proximal end of the humerus. It inserts at the proximal anterior surface of the radius. Also in this medial view is the M. triceps brachii, which flexes the shoulder and extends the forearm. The two heads originate from the scapula and proximal humerus. It inserts at the olecranon process of the proximal ulna. In the lateral view of the right wing is the M. deltoideus. This is a sheet-like muscle covering the dorsal shoulder, originating at the proximal clavicle and inserting at the deltoid tuberosity of the proximal humerus. The muscle flexes the shoulder and rotates the wing outward. The outer breast muscle is the M. superficial pectoral, or the pectoralis major. This is the largest muscle of the bird and contributes most of the force necessary for the downward movement of the wing. Origin is at the sternum, furcula, and sternal ribs. It inserts at the ventral surface of the humerus. The M. supracoracoideus is the pectoralis minor. This makes up the inner breast muscle. It lies deep to the M. pectoralis major and is responsible for elevation of the wing in the upstroke. Origin is the sternum, furcula, and sternal ribs. It inserts at the proximal dorsal surface of the humerus. Using a natural pulley system, a tendon from the M. supracoracoideus passes along the medial surface of the coracoid bone and through an opening formed from the coracoid, scapula, and humerus, and inserts onto the dorsal surface of the humerus. In the lateral view of the leg is the M. iliotibialis, or the gluteus maximus. It is a sheet-like muscle covering most of the thigh. It originates at the pelvis and inserts at the proximal tibia and at the patellar ligament. It flexes the hip and extends the knee and lower leg. There is also the M. sartorius, a long thin band at the anterior border of the thigh. It flexes the hip and extends the knee. It originates at the lumbosacral area and inserts at the patellar ligament. The M. semitendinosus can also be seen. It extends the thigh and originates at the ilium and ischium. It inserts on the caudal femur. In this medial view of the leg muscles is the M. semimembranosus. This muscle extends the thigh and flexes the knee. It originates on the lateral surface of the ischium and inserts on the caudal surface of the tibiotarsus. The M. quadriceps femoris lies posterior to the sartorius. It originates at the ilium and inserts at the patellar ligament. It extends the thigh. The M. ambiens originates on the ilium and pubis and inserts on the proximal tibiotarsus. The M. adductor longus adducts and extends the thigh. It originates at the ventral border of the ilium and pubis and inserts at the distal femur. Towards the distal portion of the leg is the gastrocnemius and the tibialis anterior. The M. gastrocnemius flexes the knee and extends the foot. The three heads originate from the distal femur and proximal tibiotarsus. It inserts at the tuber calcanei. The M. tibialis anterior flexes the tarso-metatarsus forward. This is a view of the heart inside and outside of the chicken's body. The heart rate is about 200 to 300 beats per minute in the chicken. Avian species have a four-chambered heart that is enclosed in a pericardial sac, or a serous membrane. In contrast to mammals, the aortic arch reflects to the right in birds, as compared to the left in mammals. Oxygenated blood in the left atrium flows into the left ventricle, which pumps oxygenated blood into the aorta, the main artery. This blood goes to the organs. Deoxygenated blood returns to the heart and enters through the caudal and cranial vena cava and into the right atrium. This blood flows to the right ventricle and leaves the heart via pulmonary arteries to the lungs. The blood, now oxygenated, returns to the heart via pulmonary veins and enters into the left atrium, and the cycle begins again.
The digestive system is the system in the chicken responsible for the breakdown of food to its basic components. Then these components and nutrients are used throughout the body after being reabsorbed. Each different part of the digestive system is responsible for a different part of this reabsorption process. Digestion all begins with the beak where food enters the mouth. The beak is responsible for obtaining feed, crushing, tearing, and holding food. Then the feed enters the mouth. Inside the mouth, there are saliva-secreting glands that contain enzymes that begin chemical digestion of food. Inside the chicken's mouth, there are no teeth, and on the outside, there are no lips. Then a triangular-shaped tongue is used to push food down the esophagus so it can enter the rest of the digestive tract. After digestion begins in the mouth and food is pushed back by the tongue, the food enters the esophagus. The esophagus is a muscular tube that runs perpendicular and mostly dorsal to the trachea and connects the mouth with the rest of the digestive system. It carries food from the mouth to the crop. The crop is an area for temporary storage of food in the chicken's digestive system. It is stored here until the rest of the digestive tract is ready to receive more feed. When the crop is empty, it has the ability to send hunger signals to the brain so that more feed is consumed. After food leaves the crop, it enters the proventriculus by means of the esophagus. Proventriculus is the true glandular stomach that secretes HCl and other digestive enzymes so that chemical digestion can occur. It usually has a pH of 0.7 to 2.3. There's a lot of mucus located in this area because of the low pH. After food leaves the proventriculus and enters the gizzard, this is unique to the avian digestive system. It is a mechanical stomach that consists of thick muscular walls with sandpaper-like inner surface. With strong contractions of these muscles, it helps to grind, mash, and mix the food into a fine paste. Following the gizzard, the food enters the small intestines. The small intestine is made up of the duodenum, the first portion, and then it's followed by the lower small intestines, which consists of the jejunum and the ileum. Here, the absorption of nutrients from broken down food occurs. To aid in digestion in the small intestines, there are specialized structures to help. These include the liver and the pancreas. The liver is responsible for producing bile to emulsify lipids, and this bile is stored in the gallbladder, the green structure seen within the liver in the picture in the upper left-hand corner, before it enters the small intestine. The pancreas, which is located in the duodenal loop of the small intestines, is responsible for secreting digestive enzymes and bicarbonate to buffer the acidic pH of the solution entering the small intestines. Before the small intestine becomes the large intestine, it transitions in an area called the intestinal ceca. Each cecum is responsible for the reabsorption of water and formation of coarse materials, and the production of vitamin Bs take place. Also, there's a bacterial population in each cecum that is important for digestion of plant cellulose. In these pictures, the ceca are relatively small and thin compared to most ceca in chickens. Following the ceca, the digestive material enters the large intestines, also known as the colon. This is where the final water reabsorption occurs. After the large intestines, the digestive waste exits the chicken's body through the cloaca. This is a vent that collects and ejects fecal matter from the intestines. The urogenital system is synonymous with the excretory system. This system is responsible for the removal of nitrogenous waste and other wastes of the metabolism from the body, as well as maintaining the osmotic fluid balance of the body. Birds, such as this chicken, excrete nitrogenous metabolistic wastes products as urates. Most avian species do not have a bladder. The major organ of the excretory system is the kidney. In the chicken, it is a three-lobed structure located in the dorside of the abdomen. The functional units of the kidney are nephrons that are responsible for the filtration of blood. The ureters are tubules emerging between the most cranial and middle lobe of the kidneys that run parallel to the abdominal aorta and terminate in the cloaca. The ureters are not easily seen in this picture, but they are responsible for the removal of urine from the body.
The glottis is the opening from the mouth to the trachea. The trachea is the tube in which air is passed from the nasal and oral openings down into the lungs. The syrinx is the cartilaginous bifurcation where the trachea splits off into two bronchi. The The lungs allow for gas exchange in the body. The air sacs allow for a continuous stream of air to pass through the tissues at all times. Humeral and axillary air sacs are found above the lungs. Anterior thoracic air sacs are anterior to the lungs. Posterior air sacs are slightly posterior to the lungs, and the abdominal air sacs are in the abdominal cavity. In the avian respiratory system, no diaphragm or intercostal muscles are necessary.
The reproductive system is composed of the organs and glands in the body that aid in the production of new individuals. The ovary can be found in the left side of the abdominal cavity. The ovary function as the site of the ovum development and maturation. The infundibulum is the portion of the oviduct that catches the oocyte after ovulation and directs it into the magnum of the oviduct. Also, it functions as one of the 2 storage sites for sperm in an avian species. The magnum is a thick-walled portion of the oviduct with glands that produce and secrete albumin and other proteins that contribute to the egg. The oocyte stays in the magnum for about 2 hours. The isthmus is located caudal to the magnum and is the thinner-walled area where the egg membrane is formed. The oocyte stays in the isthmus for 1 to 2 hours. The incomplete egg in the oviduct usually takes about 25 to 26 hours to fully develop. The egg usually takes about 15 minutes to make it through the infundibulum, about 3 hours to make it through the magnum, about 75 minutes for the egg to travel through the isthmus, and about 20 hours to get through the shell gland. Our egg was about 3 hours and 15 minutes into development. The shell gland, also known as the uterus, is the site of shell formation and pigmentation. This process usually takes about 20 hours. The vagina is the segment of the oviduct between the shell gland and the cloaca. This is the second location of sperm storage in tubule glands at the junction between the vagina and the shell gland. The cloaca is the end of the digestive and reproductive system. The mixing of digestive waste together with waste from the urinary system also occurs in the cloaca. The large yellow follicles are arranged in a hierarchy of size where the largest follicle is the next to ovulate and is called the F1 follicle. The next largest follicle is the F2 follicle and most likely ovulate the next day. The small white and yellow follicles are the follicles that will continue to grow and replace the hierarchy of large yellow follicles as they ovulate. Stigmas are the areas on the follicles that is non-vascular and the site of follicular rupture during ovulation. Post-ovulatory follicles are the remaining follicular structure following ovulation of the oocyte. This is the picture we got when we opened the magnum and the isthmus. The magnum is clearly thick-walled and the isthmus is clearly thin-walled. This is a picture of the male reproductive system in a rooster. You can see the testes, which are located along the back near the anterior ends of the kidneys. The testes function to produce sperm. The vas deferens are the tubes that the sperm travel through to get to the cloaca.